Hi, I'm Daniel Flanzig, a partner with the law firm of Flanzig & Flanzig, also known as New York Bike Lawyers, and welcome back to another bike law video. Today is a sad story. Yesterday in Brooklyn, a delivery cyclist by the name of Mr. Chizowski was killed when he was struck by an MTA bus. And from what we know so far, both vehicles, the bus and the bicycle, were heading in the same direction, and he was struck from behind by the MTA bus. And it highlights to me the importance of what New York State is lacking, and that's a 3-foot law. So right now, 42 other states in this country have a law that requires a motorist to pass a cyclist at a distance of at least 3 feet. In other states, we see greater than 3 feet, 4 feet, some states 5 feet. New York State has no defined distance right now. And had we had a defined distance, maybe this would have changed the outcome for this particular cyclist. Right now, we only have Vehicle and Traffic Law 1122A, which requires a motorist to pass a cyclist at a reasonably safe distance, but not at a defined distance such as 3 feet. So in this particular case, both the cyclist and the MTA bus were traveling the same direction, and as the bus attempted to overtake the cyclist, he struck and killed him. There is some question whether or not the cyclist was executing a left turn. I think that's irrespective right now about the cause of the crash, because had that bus been operating at a distance far enough away from the cyclist as it overtook him from the rear, I don't think this crash would have occurred. And I talk from experience because not so long ago, about 3 or 4 months ago, our firm was very successful in obtaining summary judgment. So that means having a judge determine before a jury, before they even hear word one, the jury, whether or not the New York City Transit Authority was responsible for causing a crash when they overtook a cyclist from behind. In this particular case that I'm talking about, my case, this was in Central Park. It was about 2 or 3 years ago. And a cyclist was on the Central Park Transverse, 96th Street, I believe, heading from the west side to the east side. So from Central Park West over to Fifth Avenue, and he's on the Transverse. And while on the Transverse, there was an empty New York City Transit Authority bus that came up from behind him and attempted to pass him on the left, and in doing so struck his rear tire, knocked him to the ground, and ran over the bike, injuring the cyclist. After we concluded depositions and before trial, we moved for summary judgment. We asked the court to determine whether or not the New York City Transit Authority was responsible for causing that crash based upon the facts on the record. And the court did. And the court found that the defendant violated multiple sections of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, which included VTL 1129, which states that a driver of a motor vehicle should not approach another motor vehicle from behind more closely than is reasonable and prudent. VTL 1180A, no person shall drive a vehicle at a speed greater than is reasonable and prudent. And VTL 1122A, the safe passing law, here it worked in this particular case. The operator of a vehicle overtaking from behind a bicycle proceeding the same side of the roadway shall pass to the left of such bicycle at a safe distance until safely clear thereof. And what I also call the catch-all statute, which is VTL 1146A, provides, notwithstanding the provision of any other law to the contrary, every driver of a vehicle shall exercise due care to avoid colliding with any bicyclist, pedestrian, or domestic animal upon roadway, and shall give warning by sounding his or her horn. So what we're looking at, the case in Brooklyn and my case that we had in Central Park, seemed to be very similar. We had a bus overtaking a cyclist from behind, and that bus did not pass at a reasonably safe distance. So looking at this case, my case, and this unfortunate death that just happened in Brooklyn, it highlights for me the importance of a safe passing law that needs to happen in New York. And part of my work with the New York Bicycle Coalition, we've been trying to work in Albany to get this law passed for the last couple of years. But when I look at my case, I look at this case that just happened in Brooklyn and countless others that I've been involved in, having this defined distance of 3 feet is going to make the world of difference and make us all safer. So I wanted to, unfortunately, talk about this story today because it does highlight the importance of a 3-foot law. And again, hopefully with this current legislation, we might have some chance in trying to get this law passed once again. But once again, thank you for listening. Stay safe, be safe, and we'll talk soon.